Hey, I'm Kev Kim, going back to Ride 3, perhaps for the final time, as yesterday we finally completed Career Mode. It was a bit of an adventure, a bit of a journey through all 60 issues and the grand final, but we finally got there in the end after a couple of years and a couple of different format changes as well, from doing episodes to live streams and ending up with just like a 6-hour live stream to finally get through it all. But I thought I'd do a separate video with my thoughts on Ride 3, so if it's too long, can't be asked to listen, Ride 3 is okay. It seems to be like the normal progression for Milestone through their series, such as MotoGP, MXGP, Supercross, is that there's one step forward and then a couple of steps back. So, and there's a couple of major things which really hold me back from liking Ride 3. So, let's go to the good stuff first of all. So, this is Unreal Engine, and you know, the game looks alright. Maybe not the close-up detail if you zoom in on photo mode, but in general, the bikes, riders, tracks, everything looks alright. Especially looking at like Macau at night, that was pretty awesome. Going through the first sector with all the lights and everything, that's pretty cool. And yeah, the good graphics options as well. Being in Unreal Engine, we got all these options to choose from as well, much better than when Miles had their own engine a couple of years back. And yeah, the good variety of bikes, so over a couple hundred, especially with the DLC as well, around 30 tracks as well. And yeah, good variety of types of bikes, from naked, maxi enduro, supermoto, racing, super custom and sport bikes. Variety of career mode, like type of modes as well, like not just got races and championships, it's got like time attack, drag races, overtake challenges as well, and they're nicely spread out, so you're not always fixated on one type of like race, or you know, just fixated on say like time attack. You know, they are kind of spread out a bit. Now that's pretty good. And yeah, the customization's alright, the livery editor's okay, even though again there's quite a limited variety of like faces and everything and gear. But yeah, that's all the good stuff. Now, of course, there's always more to talk about when there's the bad stuff. So let's start with the handling, shall we? The handling is not the greatest. This came out around, say, like MotoGP 18, when they're just starting to kind of reboot the MotoGP series with the Unreal Engine. And it seems like they're still getting to grips with it. Like now, they seem to be getting better with the Unreal Engine, kind of. And yeah, the hand is just not great. There's not much force feedback through the controller. Like you feel it a bit in the brakes if you do it too much, and then you're down. On the power, if you do it too much, then you're down. But not that kind of constant feedback, like a bit like you had in MotoGP 20 when the game first came out. Like you don't have that kind of feedback through the controller, and the hand-in had inherent understeer, so you had to set up the bikes. Even though it's the cheap, easy set up bikes with like all these suspension all one way, etc., and making the gear very short, it's just not great, was the hand-in, and I hope it is much better with Ride 4. I hope it's a bit like MotoGP 20 when it first came out, the hand-in in Ride 4. That is my hope, that is my dream, with the feedback, with especially the grip through the front as well, instead of having the grip through like the braking and the rear sliding all the time. And that made some bikes very unbearable to ride. Like the normal naked bikes were terrible to ride. Hyper nakeds were alright. Max Enduros were okay. Super motards, like super motard bikes where you just slide them around, they were terrible to ride with this handling model. Like you always slide in with the rear. It was very difficult to get to grips with. You know, even on the front as well, trying to brake, he just there's so many falls where you felt like you did nothing wrong. So yeah, not very good on Supermoto. Sport bikes were great, especially in the 80s and 90s, you know, where the power and chassis were kind of an evil kill. Then in, you know, the early part of this century, then the power started to go up, and then chassis finally caught up in this last decade, at least from the impression from the handling of the bikes in the game, and so that was okay. And yeah, Supercross and racing bikes I love, especially the R1s, even though they felt a bit floaty in parts. But the R1s were like, they're just glued to the tracks. Maybe I had too much grip, the R1's bikes. So, and also the balance between the bikes. Like some bikes were really easy to ride, some weren't. and that led to imbalance in the events as well. Like the drag races were ridiculous. Some time attacks were as well. And yeah, drag races really need to improve to just get out. Like, you did not test the game, Milestone, if you thought those drag races were acceptable. And yeah, some of the career mode events are just insanely hard for some reason, and then the next career mode were insanely easy. The balance was all over the place, especially around tracks as well. Like, the difficulty was all over the place as well. Like, the North Shore was easy, and then you went to like Imola, which was much harder. Went to Macau, which was harder, kind of naturally, but still harder. And then Francocordia, you had the AI level like almost on max compared to, say, like Cadwell was a bit easier, or like Alton Park or Donington, which was kind of in the middle. So yeah, just need that to be consistent. If that's one thing you take away from Ride 3, is that everything needs to be consistent, more polished, more actually tested out. It felt like they didn't even test the game before it came out. You know, there's like that kind of issue you have with games nowadays, where they release them half-baked and then they spend like a couple of months or up to a year, you know, improving the game and then adding DLC, and then they come up with the Game of the Year edition at the end of the year, and then they just move on. Like, and then it's left to, you know, modders if they can to like fix the game. That's what it feels like with Ride 3. So I'm hoping Ride 4, even though it's done by Milestone, by the same company, I'm hoping it has a much better base to work on. It's just tested more, even though they're trying to add in all these endurance and all this stuff. I just want it to be just more polished and a bit more consistent across the board. That's what we need with like just career mode, with the bikes, with the handling, with everything, just be more consistent. And also multiplayer. Hopefully connection's much better with the dedicated servers compared to how it was in Ride 3, where you always get those people who are a bit ambitious, but it was a bit crazy. So, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. And finally, we're to the opponents. You thought I forgot this, but they are abysmal. They are terrible. They are the worst thing about the game. Those are the things that really drag you down, especially when you're doing career mode, because they're the only things you race, and they just do their own thing. It's like GT. It's like Gran Turismo AI. They just do their own thing. They just ride on the line. They try and ride on their line, even if you're there, and just push you out and take you out. They are probably some of the worst AI I've ever seen in a racing game in Ride 3. They really need to improve with Ride 4. Hopefully with the ANA system they do. But yeah, they are just... That's what made the Imola race, the last Grand Finale race, so frustrating. It took me like an hour to try and do it at like 90%, and then when I do it on 20%, I just had to do it like the lowest difficulty ever, just to be clear, just to be stress-free, just to make it through the damn event. And yeah, we need the AI to be good, especially in endurance races. We need them to actually go around tracks properly. They didn't do that around half the tracks, especially like the North Cypher. They could not do the whole circuit properly. Like around the 2/3 of the mark way through, like with all the downhill and uphill corners, they were terrible, the AI. So they need to be much better in Ride 4 if it's just not going to piss me off, and if it's going to keep my interest more than, was it like a month before I gave up from my playthrough, and then this last couple of months when I've been playing through. But it really did get frustrating on a couple of events, especially the harder ones, especially when you're doing well, and then you just get taken out by an AI who's just dive bombing you into a corner, does not care that you're there, and doesn't even know you're there. Doesn't seem like they know you're there. You're not actually on their radar. We're racing two different races here, and we somewhat interact sometimes, and then that leads to issues, and that cannot be the case in Ride 4. But from what I've been playing MotoGP 20 with their ANA system, I noticed no difference at all with the opponents. They seem to back off a bit more, maybe. They don't seem to take you out as much. Like, it seems like they actually ray less. They ray really strong, so when you hit them, you go down because you're light as a feather, but they're like boulders, so they're very difficult to take down. But yeah, they just needs total overhaul with the ANA system, hopefully, for Ride 4. I can only dream, especially with the endurance race. I really want the endurance races to do well. Those are the things I'm most looking forward to in Ride 4. So if they are not right, I'll be incredibly disappointed. And like I said, with Milestone, I don't have much hope. But Ride's the game they put their passion, like their most passion, like. So it seems like they're really trying is Ride in the Ride series. So one man can dream, hopefully. But yeah, the AI worst aspect of the game by a country mile, and the one which really drags the enjoyment down and makes it incredibly average. Ride 3 compared to actually being a good or decent game like it otherwise would be if the AI were actually enjoyable.